Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. This week's going to be a bit confusing with the days that we're releasing our shows, but it is Monday and it is Clash of the Correspondents Day. How are we, James?
I'm not too bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, can't complain. We should timestamp that we are pre-recording, so it's not really Monday. You're just listening on Monday. James, you want to introduce our guests?
Yeah, we'll timestamp it just in case Burnley have any more players go out of contracts over the weekend. It's Friday evening. We are joined by Mig Mig, our Crystal Palace correspondent. How are you, Mig?
Evening, not too bad, lads. Too bad.
And we're joined by Turfy Topper, Jack. How are you, Jack?
Yeah, good, thank you. Better after the Watford result.
Good man. And we're obviously discussing tonight's Crystal Palace and Burnley game. And we decided, if we're being honest, lads, there wasn't a desperation to try and get this out before any kind of FPL deadline because we don't think anyone's massively going to look at your two teams. So we wanted to have a catch-up, see what's going on at your clubs. I think, I don't know if any of you guys are playing Sky, but I think Sky listeners might find this particularly useful trying to pick a captain for the game tonight. So let's crack on and talk football. I feel, Jack, we need to start with you. And I feel like you need to tell me where you want to start.
Well, Pope's got the most points for any goalkeeper, so he's a good one to start with.
Yes!
I've actually just taken him out my team, though, when I did my wild card, just to get in.
Oh, that's awkward.
I've had him in all season, though, up until...
I've just put him in.
So is James. So I think... defensively, Burnley were much better against Watford than they were against City. I think we spoke about it with our City correspondent 2 weeks ago, and I know James mentioned it on the main pod. City always do a number on Burnley, so it's no surprise that they battered you on the day. But It didn't suddenly make Burnley a bad side to go for defensively because you have kept a lot of clean sheets and done well.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be tempted to say any of the defenders. I'd go for maybe C.O.T.C and me, purely because we've got no cover at all for centre-half, seeing as Ben Gibson's on his holidays training with Middlesbrough. We've just re-signed Bardsley again, so he could quite easily flip between Loughton and Bardsley. Likewise, he could flip between Charlie Taylor and Peters, but I'd say C.O.T.C and Ben Mee, not a bad shout, considering we're decent from corners as well.
Just feel like with Pope, my thinking of going back to him was, I think your fixtures are great, Jack, in terms of the defensive prospect of you. I think we all made this trap with Everton last year, falling into that trap of thinking, they've got nothing to play for, etc. And I looked at the fixtures and I still look at them and I think there's at least another three clean sheets there or so for you. Yeah. Mig's nodding. I think his opinion's similar. He's the top scoring goalkeeper, Pope, and he just seems to be more drawn to the bonus points than your likes of me and Tarkowski, who are a threat from set pieces, and particularly James Tarkowski is, but they don't get a huge number. I mean, Pope's even fluked, really, the bonus points and the extra save point by dropping the ball and saving the rebound against Watford. He's not the best keeper in the world. We know that. But it works fine for FPL. That was my opinion on it.
Yeah, it's the way we shape up. We invite a lot of shots on from distance, so you'll get a touch on him and get a save point, so... Yeah, I just purely went for Dubravka just to change it up for me because I thought I need to do something different.
Was this week prior to the Watford game?
Yeah.
So for you, it probably was an influence of the City game then?
Possibly. And I just fancied it. I just thought, you know what, I want to change. But if I hadn't have had the unlimited transfers after lockdown, I probably would have stuck with Pope. But it's just thought, you know what, I want to change, considering I'm so low in the rankings. As Suj just pointed out to me before the start of this.
I think it makes me sound like I was just pointing out that, to be fair, in the Correspondents League, there's only 3 or 4 correspondents below us. Like, everybody else is beating us. Jack just happens to be one of the 3 or 4.
Still scrolling, like.
Yeah. And what about off the field, Jack? Everybody's friends now? Everybody's kissed and made up?
Yeah, in terms of contracts,
the board and Sean Dyche. You think there's any more issues between them, or you think?
I knew he was upset at the City game, but I think we spoke about Dyche quite a few times on here. Like, he's not going to stay around forever. But he put it quite nicely the other day when he'd said, "I've had one falling out with the board in 7.5 years." He said, "I think that's pretty good going." He doesn't seem that upset, and to be honest, he's on highest paid earner at the club on 67 grand a week. And he's got 2 years left on his contract. So it's one of them, like, where would he go? We've sort of said it again. The two clubs he's been linked with are Villa and Palace, but if Villa go down, would he want to manage in the Championship? Probably not. Would Palace get rid of Roy?
I don't know. Ask Mig.
No, he's just signed he just signed a year extension on his contract. So
yeah, I think that rules that one out, doesn't it? For Palace.
So you look at other teams and you think, a newly promoted team's not going to change the manager for Dyche. Doesn't really leave him with that many clubs, does it? So. No,
I think there was a period that the year you finished 7th, it was kind of high in demand, as in that was probably the ceiling of where you were going to be short term. And I think there was some talk of Everton, Newcastle with respect to a bigger football clubs. Neither of them came looking. Neither of them look like they're going to come and look now. So I quite agree with you. Where's he going to go? I mean, you could make a case that Palace is no more than a sideward step, really. I mean, there can't be, and I mean this respectfully, the game tonight is the least important game to the neutral left this season, whether it's good or bad. Yeah. The pair of you have essentially got nothing to play for. Full marks for both being completely safe, and full marks for both being at a point where you could go, can we push for Europe here? And that's great, right? If you'd have said, I mean, Mig, when you came on with me in August, before you won at Old Trafford, quite frankly, you were shitting yourself after what you saw at Sheffield United in game week 2. So you must be quite happy with the way it's gone, I would have thought.
Oh, very, very happy. Very happy. I mean, the Liverpool result aside, because that was just a bit of a mess and no one really expected anything. But yeah, sitting top half of the table, only single figures away from Europe. I mean, I couldn't have asked for anything more after another poor start to the season. But with 8 games now to go, I'm fully content with where we are.
And happy that Roy signed another year.
Yeah, I can't argue with it. I mean, he's pushing on a little bit. I mean, he's 25 years old with a bit of experience on him. But one more year, he's not done anything drastic to the team. He's made us more solid at the back, and he's provided some threat up front. He's got the most out of Ayew much more than I thought he would, especially at the start of the season when I came on, and I was a bit dubious about him. But a little bit extra more. I mean, maybe we could push for a little bit further up the table. I mean, we've already got a record finish last year and then hopefully top that again this year. So another push for next year, maybe. I mean, if Dyche wants to come and be his assistant for a year,
the good thing
take over the year after.
Yeah, I think with Royce signing another year, it's pretty much his last year. It gives you the chance to succession plan and be a bit more forward thinking rather than in panic stations. Like we always are, firing someone and then trying to hire someone within 2 weeks. It doesn't work. So it does bode well that you have the time to try and pick a successor that follows the same philosophy or style or whatever the board want to do.
Yeah, we don't want a Mark Hughes situation here.
No.
I heard that name, Jack.
Oh dear.
Oh God.
Who was it you got linked with the other day? And then I saw, and linked with Mark Hughes as well, because there's a large British contingent. Like there hasn't been enough racist rumours with Burnley this week. Let's get which Burnley fans completely 99.9% of them, as you pointed out, Jack, are not racist. But it was like, following that, well, we've got British players. Let's get an English manager as well. And Mark Hughes' name comes in.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, that's the death of you, mate.
I think someone actually mentioned on Twitter, like, about Chris Hughton, and everyone was like, yeah, I'd take Chris Hughton. I was like, he ticks both boxes. It proves we're not racist. He's a decent manager.
Oh, dear. And
he's available. Pay no compo.
Yeah, I think if I were you, you'd stick with Sean Dyche over Chris Hughton, if nothing else. But
yeah.
I don't know. I'd love to if Sean Dyche at West Ham, but we've just got David Moyes now, and they're not going to get rid of him. So nothing doing. One thing certain, we would pay the money. We're not shy of spending big money on salaries and what have you.
Yeah, if he's really unhappy, it'll be January when first manager goes, and he'll be chucking his name in the hat for something. But I think he'll be all right. It was more the contract situation with Hendrick, and the board can put it right if we spend close season for next season. So I'm not too worried until
on Hendrick, Jack, because I know you've mentioned this on Twitter. There's been quite a gripe with people, supporters at the club, with Hendrick's performances, and now some anger with him going. Can you clarify that in terms of what the position is?
Well, he was record signing when we signed him for 13 million. Signed him as a centre mid, and 90% of the time we played him on the wing. Not out of choice, but purely because that was where the gap was in the squad. He did a job there, always put in a shift. I liked him. Some fans gave him grief, but now everyone's going like mad now he's left. I'd have personally kept hold of him purely because we've spent all that money on him, and I think I saw a stat the other day that out of all the players still at the club, he's got the third highest Premier League appearances. Only Ben Mee and Ashley Barnes are ahead of him. So he'd have been a good face to keep around the squad, but I think that's where Dyche's anger was, is we've offered him a contract, but too late. Do you know, apparently he's been linked with AC Milan, Hendrik.
Yeah, that seems to be the big rumour, yeah.
So, I mean, he'll get a big signing fee for them. He'll get a cushy 2-year contract on probably same money, if not more. I don't blame him for taking it. He'll be straight back into Ireland squad. He'll be playing in centre mid or whatever. So it's just one of them.
AC Milan with Asmir Begovic. Who'd have thought it? Mig, I think Suj has actually kind of nailed that on the head in terms of the one difference with the two managers is, I mean, although Jack's right, I think what he's saying is Dyche isn't going to be there forever, but it's not implausible that we're sitting here in 5 years and having the same conversation. He's still there. That obviously won't be the case with Roy Hodgson. Surely the succession plan, this is the right time now where Palace took the approach with Frank de Boer to try and change style, etc. Surely now it feels to me this is the right time to get the right coach, what you kind of part said as well, to get in with him now, ready to go for 21, 22 or whatever. That seems like simple philosophy to take, really.
Yeah, it's almost like bringing in an apprentice for him to get his ideas of where the squad is currently, but then someone who can integrate their ideas to push us on a little bit further, and someone that after a year or 6 months or however long we actually get someone for, to feel comfortable with the players as well, not just going straight from Roy and his stubborn defence, solid counter-attacking football, to then go, right, we're going to do something completely different now, and we're going to try and play a possession-based game, which completely went all wrong for Frank, unfortunately, because I thought that might have been a bit exciting at the time. But seven defeats in a row kind of...
It was exciting. It was exciting for the rest of us watching it.
It was actually us that got him sacked, if you remember.
Yeah.
And I was on the game, and you were by far the better team.
That's so true.
And I think you either hit the post or we had one cleared off the line.
Yeah, it was like Chris Wood scored at like 3 minutes in or something like that.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Pope's debut as well?
Yeah, that was it.
Yes, because Heaton got injured.
Yeah.
Made a great save late on from Benteke, I remember.
Yes.
Oh, well, everyone does.
No, that was it. Scott Dan missed it.
No, Benteke doesn't normally hit the target.
Scott Dan missed a free header at the back post, and everyone just said that's cost Frank his job. But he would have been completely
Did you say Scott Dan, did you, Jack?
Yeah.
You see, that's interesting as well, Mig. Why did Scott Dan not play on Wednesday?
I think, I mean, he played the previous 5, and I think Roy probably maybe a little bit of a rest after just having one game in, bring Sacco back in, see if he can gel again with Cahill. Didn't really work out. I mean, Sacco was a bit weak at times, especially with his back pass. But I would assume that Dan would go straight back in. Plus, he was against Liverpool. We weren't expected to get anything. Might as well put Sacco out. He's a bit taller, maybe for the corners and against people like Van Dijk and stuff like that. But it didn't really work out that well. So hopefully go back to Dan.
I don't think we're in question of saying that Sacco is a better player than Dan. It just seems slightly odd to suddenly have 4 clean sheets in a row and bring a player back in who hasn't played any football since January against Salah, Mane, Firmino and that. I mean, I feel a little bit sorry for him, actually. It was almost written on the wall what was going to happen. I don't see what the benefit was to Sacco, to Dan, or anybody in the circumstance that Sacco came back in the team.
No, I think maybe Roy had a sort of, maybe looking past Liverpool, like not expecting they're going to be up for the game. They could win the league. We'll look past them maybe towards the Burnley game where we hopefully should get some points from it, and we can give Sacco a run out against his former team, so he might be up for the game. But it just kind of fell a bit of a damp squib at the end of it, really, which wasn't great, especially to watch.
Last. You're not the first. You won't be the last to get done over by Liverpool, mate. Definitely
We're in
not.
the same situation, both of us. You had Liverpool, we had City.
Yeah.
But then you basically picked, I mean, your strongest team. I mean, you didn't pick a bench at all, did you really, Jack? But you went with the team. Did he sacrifice or save legs, particularly against City, to prepare for Watford, do you think?
He took Rodriguez off and Vidra off quite early. Well, took Rodriguez off early against City. And as for the bench, I think I'm the next person to get called up for it with that short on numbers.
You should have put your hand up, mate. Didn't you go? That's the only way you could have got in the ground, Jack.
Yeah, but no, in terms of FPL, I know you're saying you probably wouldn't choose many assets from us, but you go for City and they rotate players week in, week out. I think you look at the core of our team and like against Watford, if we're still in the game, Dyche is going to leave his best players on. So, you know, for your players like Dwight McNeil, I think Vidra is probably a decent one looking forward. So, although it might look that you think, oh, Burnley haven't got the greatest of players, we don't have the squad to rotate, so he'll be playing the same 11 pretty much every week.
I know this is very early to say because it's Friday night. Is Rodriguez out of Monday night?
They say it's a niggle, so he's hoping that he's back. So I don't think it's anything too serious. But if anyone's transferring someone in, striker from us, I would say probably go for Vidra just on the.
So you'd go him ahead of Rodriguez.
I was just saying to Suj early before we started. Most of his appearances have been subs. He's only actually started 4 games, but averaged out over 90 minutes. He's averaged 5.5 points per 90, Vidra. And Danny Ings has averaged 6 per 90, just as a comparison there. So he hit the post as well on Thursday night, so he was a bit unlucky with that. Yeah, I don't see why not. We play some long balls over, so he doesn't always get on the end of them, but he nearly scored right at the end as well against Watford. So you'd fancy him a couple of times. He did everything right. Boss put it in the net.
5.3 million. He's cheap.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can tell us about Max Thompson so we can have that powerful front line of Nketiah, Greenwood and Thompson?
I don't know about his GCSE results, but...
How old is he?
Second year scholar, so I think he's, 17, 18?
Is there a chance he plays?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay.
I think it'll be, if we were 3-0 down, he'd probably bring him on and give someone a rest, but...
He's probably more likely to go to 4-5-1 or 4-4-1-1, isn't he, probably?
The annoying thing is our better young players have all been out on loan, so we're not allowed to use them.
Yeah, do you know what? That's a really frustrating rule, actually. A lot of Premier League clubs find that at the moment. That makes absolutely no sense, by the way.
Especially for us, when we're that short on a bench. You know, we fielded 2 goalkeepers on our bench against City, and we were 2 players short of a full bench. Only 2 players have ever made a Premier League appearance out of the 7 that was on our bench.
Oh, that's very light on numbers.
It was only Man City.
Yeah.
And then Watford.
And their bench was absolutely...
Their bench was the best bench anyone's ever seen, ever.
And we've just got Matt Thompson sat there like, hi.
To be fair, I mean this respectfully to you, Jack. They could have started the bench with the 8 and they'd have given you a proper game, mate. Or the 9, rather. Mig, go on, Suj, you go.
You just wildcarded, Mig.
Yes. Well, I wildcarded for last game week.
Exactly. And no Palace players. I'm assuming that there's no one that really interests you. PVA is not going to do his end of season point scoring heroics.
No, I'll have to wait about 6 game weeks for him. Last 2 game weeks, normally sort of throw him in.
That's when he comes to the party.
Yeah, if anyone's in fear of relegation, then you play him against them. He loves relegating teams.
Yeah, you haven't got enough shit to have to play, have you?
I
tell you what,
Villa
Mig, I'm well gutted you ain't got West Ham in game week 37, mate.
we got when have we got Villa? 35.
35.
Relegate Villa at 35.
It's a bit early, isn't it? Unfortunately. What about Jordan Ayew, mate? You mentioned to him. Obviously, Roy's got a lot more out of him than you would have anticipated this year. He scored some important goals, actually. I think he's at 11 goals. Is he on?
Yeah, something like that. He's won us 14 points with just his goals.
I bet that's more than Zaha.
Yeah, because he scores basically 1 each game, and they're usually a winning goal. He's basically brought us into mid-table.
Yeah, it's 11 attacking returns, 9 goals, 2 assists. I mean, 5.2, you can do worse as a third forward, surely. I mean, I would prefer the choice of Ayew, even with more difficult fixtures, than Vidra, personally. Because I think, well, at least
cheaper as well.
At least Ayew will stay in the team between now and the season, whereas if Wood and Barnes get fit, Vidra will be straight back out. That would be my take on that.
Yeah.
And he's already scored against United this season. He scored in both games against Arsenal. He scored in both games against West Ham. But he can score in the big games as long as he gets the opportunity and the ball, which
West
may
Ham's
not
not a
happen.
big game.
No.
I threw in a comparison of,
You just read out all of his goals for the season.
Suj getting absolutely murked by Burnley and Crystal Palace.
Well, we can't complain, right? They're both above us in the league.
I think Ayew's all right, but if Zaha's out, is that just completely...
It doesn't.
I don't know.
It doesn't completely negate him, but it does take away a massive threat of assists.
So yeah, I don't think with the way they do the subs now, if Zaha isn't 100%, you can still start him, and it's not a danger if you take him off after 30 minutes because you've still got 4 subs left.
Yeah, I mean, him and Benteke are both being assessed apparently right up until Sunday, so they may still play on Monday. It may be a bit too close. I mean, they may rest them or leave them on the bench and bring them on if need be in that game, and then because we got about a week's difference between those games then. So hopefully they'll bring him at least to the bench. But yeah, if they can give him half an hour just to run out, just to see what he can do, hopefully provide Ayew with something. And a notable thing that as soon as Zaha went, the attacking and defending threat of PVA went as well, because he didn't have that Zaha overlapping run to allow him to hold on to the ball, run past him, and then cross into the goal like he did for Ayew in the Bournemouth game. He just had to keep running back and back. And okay, he was against Trent, so it was, it's not the worst right back to be up against, but it's all negated him as well, not having Zaha there. So
we spoke about PVA on the main pod, didn't we, James? And you're just thinking he's too expensive as a consideration.
We're at 5.6 million with the fixtures they've got left. Under the circumstances, attacking fullback who can absolutely, because he goes wandering a bit, but can get attacking returns in a side that notoriously can keep clean sheets under these circumstances should work. But I feel like, Gator's still a doubt as well. We don't know at this stage if he's going to be available Monday. That would make a massive difference confidence-wise. Didn't help that obviously he's missed the Liverpool game as well. He played at Bournemouth, for example. But no, 5.6 for Palace defender is too much. I don't care what he's capable of going forward, in my opinion. When you can, if you want a bit of it defensively, go in on Cahill, for example, who's nailed in at 4.4,
Joe Ward,
1.2 million shorter. It's not like Palace aren't a threat in the air from set pieces, etc. Although I suspect the two sides will probably cancel each other out from that perspective on Monday night, because it's a strength for both, really.
Yeah. Even if you just want to possibly go for any clean sheets, you can just have Joel Ward at 4.2, leave him on the bench, bring him on in the Villa game, and then just put him back on the bench, and he'll come on if you need be.
Yeah, agreed. Is he locked, Joel Ward, at right back now?
Yeah, we haven't. When we sold Wan-Bissaka, we never got a replacement for him, so Ward's just been there the whole time. I think Kelly substituted for him when he was injured, but then Kelly just substituted anywhere, really.
Kelly was in a lot of teams, wasn't he? If you actually look at his ownership, I realise it's all dead
really
ownership.
High.
But he's actually still in 17% of teams, technically. But he's got no known return dates. I presume he's potentially out for the rest of the season, in which case I think you're right to highlight Ward is 4.3 at the moment as the best choice.
Yeah, that's probably the only one I'd go with. I would only really go with PVA if Roy was really bold and put Riederveld at left back and then pushed PVA up to left wing if Zaha was out. That would be the only way I would contemplate.
Do you think that's a possibility?
I would love to see that. If Wilf is out, then we'd probably move maybe Max Meyer or something onto the left, or for some reason James MacArthur can go out on the left, which I never understand. But I think he's done it before. I don't think why he wouldn't have Riedewald at left back. And then even just having PVA as a left mid, maybe not as far as left wing, but just have him in a more advanced role. So not all the defensive responsibility is on him, and he can still burst forward.
We've also got a 4.0 defender, Tyrick Mitchell, as a left back, who was strongly rumoured to be starting when PVA was injured over the Christmas period as well, and didn't get a look in. I mean, it seems like a perfect opportunity to play him, for example. Yeah. Have a look and push PVA higher. And then PVA can give him good, actually from a left midfield position, probably giving quite good protection in that area. The way Burnley line up. I mean, what have you got wide players at the moment? Jack, obviously you've got McNeil. Who'll play the other side?
Brownhill has been playing their last 2 games.
Am I right in saying he's not the quickest? He's a central midfielder player as well, isn't he?
He's the new Jeff Hendrick, basically.
Right, okay. And he came in from Bristol City, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so I mean, from Mitchell's point of view, if he was going to play, it seems like a decent game to throw him in. I would have thought personally.
Yeah,
I don't see any reason why both clubs actually, if you're really struggling for players at the moment, wouldn't go with youngsters. There's nothing to lose at this stage of the season. You never know, you might land on a gem who can then play amongst the first team squad next season. That would be my take on it.
That's how basically Wan-Bissaka happened, because Joel Ward was injured, so right, we'll put this one of our youth players in. He excelled in the first couple of games and then didn't lose his position until he went to Man United.
I think he did a bit more than excel, in fairness, there, Mig.
He's done very well.
Yeah,
he absolutely has. And obviously Milivojevic didn't play Wednesday night as well either. I know he came on as sub.
Yeah, I think that was more of a risk because he had, if he got another yellow card, he would have had 2-match ban. So he didn't want to throw him straight in. That's why he brought him on later in the game.
The cut-off for 10 yellow cards is game week 32. It's this game week. So obviously, if he got booked this week, then he'd still miss another 2.
Yeah.
Which is obviously, that's now what's happened with Callum Wilson at Bournemouth, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Milivojevic, I remember at the start of the season being one of those that people were saying, look, VAR is going to come into play. There's going to be loads more penalties given and free kicks given. He's the penalty taker. Everybody jump on it. He's not. He's only got 73 points all season.
Palace always get penalties.
Yeah, but it hasn't quite played out in the sense that he's become a decent FPL asset at that price. The VAR hasn't affected the game in the way that we thought it might at the start of the season there.
No, it's VAR hasn't. It's not really affected the awarding of penalties. It's more affected the disallowing of goals through offsides and stuff like that. So where we have thought it'd be going, right, we need to go on all of these penalty takers and all of these free kick takers because there's going to be loads of them after the World Cup. It's so suddenly, they've all fallen to the wayside, and we need to get people who understand the offside rule, unlike Sterling and stuff like that. And yeah, his price was about 6.5 or something at the start of the season. It's just
he made 7, I think.
Yeah, but it's way too much.
I'm interested in a Burnley player, Jack, that I think I'm looking forward to owning in FPL, but probably not when he plays for Burnley's Dwight McNeil. I think 6 million is what he started out with you guys this year. Felt too expensive. He's got 9 returns now this season.
Yeah,
he's such a good player, but I feel like he might move on to a Tottenham or a better club, and that's the time that I think I might own him in FPL.
Yeah, I think he will eventually, but he's on 106 points. Zaha's on 96. McNeil's ownership's 0.9, whereas Zaha's 8.7. Yeah. That sort of says it all, really. But in terms of big chances created, he's 5th. Only players that have got more is Salah, Mahrez, Trent, and Kevin De Bruyne.
So people are going to think I asked you to prepare all the stats on Dwight.
Hold on.
Good going, Jack. See you later.
Honestly, I didn't.
I need to write this down.
But yeah, I just think he's so good. And
yeah, he is.
What you're pointing out there, actually, is not bad value for what he is, then maybe.
Well, he's nailed on every week, and we've got Brady would be obviously there's no Hendrick now, but Brady would be the one to replace him. He's currently still injured, having a knock. So if we're still in a game, he's playing 90 minutes, and he's everything that goes through midfield and chances created, it goes through McNeil pretty much. So he's again on Thursday.
Goodmanson, it's gone by everyone, hasn't it? I know you kind of said, Jack, a few weeks ago, you've kind of given up on it now because he just can't get fit.
We talk about him at the start of every season when we do the podcasts, and I go I get really excited by him. He'll have a good pre-season, but he's in for 5 out for 10, every season. So, I mean, if he'd been fit, we'd have assets on both sides of the midfield. But compared to Brownhill on the right and McNeil on the left, you've got to go for McNeil. I mean, 6.1 he is now. I don't think it's too expensive, really. And I think
it's a punt, isn't it? It's a punt.
Yeah, we're still high in Europe, sort of thing. So I think for 0.9%
past the summer.
Yeah, definitely past the summer. I would think.
His
dad's there was an interview with his dad, and he said like, "Oh, he's happy here. He's still learning. I think it's too soon for him yet, but I think it would be probably next summer. But it would be a tough season if at the end of next season we were to lose Dyche and McNeil. I wouldn't be sitting here as positive as what I am now.
It'll be tough, anyway. It'll be tough the moment you lose Sean Dyche, mate.
Yeah, I mean...
Absolutely. Doesn't mean it won't be better, but it's likely to be tough, mate.
I always sort of envision it in my head and think it'll be all right in the short term. We'll have someone come in, everyone will rally up, but Dyche can get us out of sticky situations too much. So it's all right having the manager that can come in and say, "Oh, we'll do things this way." Great, it works, but like after the week we had this week, what with the racism banner and the thing that all came out with Dyche, and we lost all, we had no bench, whatever. We played at home to Watford, ground out a result, didn't play great. 3 points. It's what Dyche does, and he does it well every time, doesn't he? So I wouldn't be as confident if we had a Tika manager at Burnley, because it's just never going to happen, is it? It has to be the Dyche way so far.
I see what you're saying
Mark
there.
Hughes called him.
What? It's interesting. You said he digs you out in those situations, and I watched the interviews with the managers after the game, and Nigel Pearson said something that I thought, actually, that's not. He said, Burnley, Burnley, they're good at what they do. And I felt at the time when I heard him say it, that it's a bit almost like having a pops, and they're good at what they do, which is dig in and grind out results, and they're not very pretty, and they're going to sit behind the ball. But what you've described there, I suppose, to be fair, he is right? Burnley are good at what they do.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask Dyche that, he does say there is a lot more to our game than just, we're not that Mark Pulis team that's purely just lump up to the top. We do use the big, strong players up front, but I think this season's seen a bit more of a change. Like Vidra, we've had him for 2 seasons now, never got a look in, but he's in the team. He's the pacey striker we've had since Ings left. He sort of happily let Ings go. We got the money for him, and we've just had Chris Wood since. But that's brought a bit of a different dimension to our game. Dwight McNeil's brought a different dimension, because we usually have wingers that always sit really deep, whereas McNeil's been so good going forward that he sort of said to him, "You know what, lad, just stay a little bit further up the pitch." So we do change things, and we don't always are as rigid as what people say we are. But
no, I absolutely agree. And I think you get it bad because of everything I've already said in terms of town, etc. You've only got British players, all that kind of thing. But actually, if everybody's fit and you list it and you go, right, you got McNeil one side, you got Goodmanson the other, you got Robbie Brady, Aaron Lennon in reserve, you've got 4 forwards together. What Burnley do well, did you say it was Nigel Pearson said it, Suj?
Yeah, straight after the Watford game.
I mean, it's a compliment, really, right?
Yeah.
They do play the percentages well. Burnley get extra points every year on top of other teams, because they're extremely good on things like set pieces. From back post corners to even, it might be going a bit direct from the goalkeeper to get into the final third. They play the percentages better, but when they get into the final third, they're not frightened to play. Look at the comeback against Leicester, for example. I even think back to the defeat at Arsenal in game week 2. He was so good in the first half, Jack.
Yeah.
Played some proper football. And noticeably, that was with most of the team fit as well. Again, it's a credit that with all the injuries, etc., as Jack said, we've got no backup centre half. We've got a guy who didn't want to be there, who's gone back to, what did you describe it as, Jack? He's got his Middlesbrough pyjamas on or something.
Yeah, Ben Gibson. So he's had a fallout with Dyche and said, "You know what, I'm going back to Middlesbrough." Don't know the full ins and outs, but
piss off to Middlesbrough then. That guy was on the brink. That guy was on the brink of the England squad, so he's obviously got some issues. That's where he was at when he was at Middlesbrough.
He could be playing in League One with Middlesbrough next season.
He might well be, mate. You never know. Under Neil Warnock, every cloud and all that.
I mean, personally, the relationship's clearly broken down so much that Dyche can't even give him a ring and say, "Look, we're playing 2 games a week. Sometimes we've only got 3 days rest. You're going to get minutes. Come and sit on the bench. Differences are differences. Let's shake hands." But it's clearly past that. But we've paid 15 million quid for the lad. We were on the podcast last year and you said, "Oh, what about Ben Gibson? He played 1 game and scored all these points." I said, "Yeah, we got beat. Was it 5-1? And he scored a goal." He said he got clean sheet points. I was like, no, he didn't. We got beat 5-1.
It was the Luca Dean game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Over Christmas time.
It's interesting.
And
Do either of you? I was going to ask. Do either of you guys play Sky? Because
I don't.
Nah, you're not necessarily going to be a help in picking a Sky captain. James, you're going with Nick Pope though.
He's absolutely the standout choice, by the way. Unfortunately, I mean, in terms of the building of the squad, to go with, just to cover that briefly for Sky, if you were to take a punt now on a Vidra, for example, when you see the team, it's not a long-term move because if the other guys get fit, he's going to be back out. I think the one that would have really appealed to me if both teams had been at their strongest as a hold for a little while would have been Chris Wood. Would have been the one that really would have appealed for me in that format. Palace just wouldn't because the players aren't going to hit the tiers in terms of passing and stuff like that. So it wouldn't appeal. Gator would have been a good alternative, but at the time of recording, don't even know if he's fit. If he is fit, he obviously offers an alternative to Pope. But if I compare the two sides' fixtures that have got left, I would be very surprised if Pope didn't outscore Gator for the remainder of the season.
Yeah. I mean, Pope's my set and forget goalkeeper for the rest of the season in the normal FPL. So I don't know why I wouldn't do that same thing in the Sky one either.
Yeah.
For keepers in Sky, it works very, very similar. So, yeah, he's a cheap goalkeeper again. They both are. Gator and Pope were the two of the real cheapies along with Dean Henderson. So from that perspective, yeah, it's been very similar to FPL.
And interesting to see Pope's price for next year, considering he potentially
in FPL.
Yeah,
it'd be 5, wouldn't it? It won't be any more than that. But I don't think they could justify a goalkeeper at Burnley being 5.5.
Yeah, I suppose so.
What about a goalkeeper somewhere else?
It's interesting though, James, because we're talking about
he's not good enough.
He's the highest point scorer. So if you're pricing based on points, then there is a case to be made when the most expensive goalkeepers are 6.5 sometimes.
If he finishes, let me put it a different way, and I'll ask this to all of you. If Nick Pope is 5 million first game of next season, do you buy him?
Yeah.
Mig?
Well, depend on the fixtures. But
yeah.
it'd be a big consideration. But I tend to go with 2 4.5s.
Suj?
I'd need to see who else was at 5 because I think someone like Dean Henderson, if he stays at Sheffield United, might be 5. So I'd take Dean Henderson at 5 over Nick Pope at 5 any day of the week. So probably not on that assumption.
Did anyone get because Fabianski went up to 5, didn't he? Did anyone get?
He started at 5, yeah.
Yeah. Did anyone go with Fabianski? I know he's at West Ham, but I mean,
whoever they were, they're probably not playing FPL anymore.
Fabianski for wildcarders, it's gone now. Obviously, it's not when we're recording, but it will be by the time you hear this. 4.9 is a great rotation with Martinez for the rest of the season. Genuinely, you can get some Mickey Mouse fixtures left. So I actually think they're a decent shout, the two of them. But
one of those is Burnley, James. So don't be too harsh.
What I said, but Pope is. I've kind of covered it on the main podcast on Friday. Like everybody's in a frustration of I took him out on the wild card, a little bit like what Jack's done, and it's just he's in or he's not in, and you got to stick with it. So people, I'm not saying go back to him now. I think Watford was great timing. Miss out City, get him in for Watford, Palace. With good run of fixtures, it seemed natural to me. And he'll perform at a basic rate. And when he keeps the clean sheets, like Thursday, it's capable. It can be a 9 or a 10 pointer quite easily.
Definitely. But we always kind of wrap up C.O.T.C with a few predictions. I don't know what your thoughts are on the score tonight, Mig. You think you're going to be able to win?
I know the football since he's been back has been really exciting, and there's hardly been any 0-0s, but I was thinking more 0-0 or one side is going to grab the odd goal. So it'd be 1-0. Hopefully it's RU. So optimistically, I'll say 1-0 Palace. But I'd 1-0 either way, I think.
What are your thoughts, Jack?
Yeah, I've got a good friend of mine, Jason, who's a Palace fan, and he always gives me stick whatever when we get beat. But we did have a good run of record against Palace until the last sort of 4 games. But yeah, I'm going to go 1-0 for us. Vidra chipping in with a goal.
It's interesting you talk about lack of goals. It's especially in the first half that there have been a lot of goals. So I'm going to go with definitely 0-0 at half time. I think that might even be a cheeky fiver that I'll have to put on that. But in the end, I reckon Burnley are going to nick it. I think Burnley are going to nick it.
Well, we've seen that there's not necessarily a home advantage, haven't we, in some of these games? So,
Suj, let me tell you, you won't get much for that fiver.
It's true, the odds on a 0-0 at half time are going to be awful.
I'm going to go 2-0 Burnley.
Ooh.
Sorry, Mig. I just feeling. I think if Gator doesn't play and Zaha doesn't play, that's one too many blows. And I think it's going to be fine margins when clubs like the U2 meet. Zaha has also actually been the player that's kind of caused Burnley some troubles in the past, particularly in games at Turf Moor. Actually, so if those two are missing, I really think Burnley will win.
Yeah, it does really depend on whether, even if Zaha doesn't play, if Guaita doesn't play, then it could be 2-0, because Wayne did not paint himself with glory at the weekend, and his presence being there completely affected the confidence of the defence. I think normally they think they're quite solid. If we get past, Guaita's going to make a save, it's going to be fine. Whereas if you're shooting from 30 yards, Fabinho.
You sent a tweet out the other day which did quite well. Do you want to tell everyone what that was?
I don't know if I want to.
No, I don't. But it surrounded Wayne Hennessy, and you can find that on Mig's timeline at McTavish.
It was about his questionable schooling.
Yes, let's just say that he didn't get across to the far post as quick as he should.
Yeah, he was a bit too left. Yeah.
Just back to Zaha. My mate, who's a Palace fan, he has quite a lot of tattoos, Jason, and he goes to the same place as Zaha. And apparently Zaha's had more tattoos this season than he has goals.
Oh, there we go.
Will he stay, Mig? Because just to finish on that, no one's going to buy him, are they?
No.
He stays now.
I mean, he'd cost too much, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he stays now.
I mean, Arsenal was the closest that anyone came to him, and they simply couldn't afford it. So they had to
went for Pepe.
Yeah.
That was weird, wasn't it? Oh, yeah. we won't pay the 60 million that Palace want. Bang, we dropped 80 for this guy.
Pepe.
I think they'd all rather have Zaha over Pepe, though, you'd have thought.
Oh, Gooners think Pepe's brilliant, mate. But they are a deluded bunch, Jack. Don't worry about it.
They sold Iwobi for, what, 40-odd million?
Well, it's like now they're all going mental about Saka and that. Listen, he'll be at Everton in about 4 years as well.
I just said that to Suj before it started.
Oh, really?
So they've got these youngsters that they just pull out of somewhere and go, yeah, we'll sell them to Everton for.
Sorry, Toffees. I ain't sorry for the other lot.
This is it. We're going to end this podcast before we alienate every other club in the Premier League apart from our own by digging out their players and possibly their fans. James, do you want to give a little shout to the stuff that's gone out in the last couple of days and what people have to look forward to?
I've just realised we still got to play Everton, Arsenal and Palace. People's poll tomorrow. Vote will go out not too long after this podcast. Wednesday will be Sky. Thursday I'll stream on YouTube. Friday, full review of the Game Week 32 games ahead of the Game Week 33 deadline. Patrons have 5 podcasts, 1 each day this week.
Indeed. And if you haven't caught up with the latest listening, we released a full episode on Friday, just a couple of days ago, that ran down all of the Game Week 31 fixtures. And we also, James has also appeared on Season of Sports, which is Asmir Begovic's podcast. So you can find that and have a listen to that as well, because that was also a good listen. So there's our voices all over the internet.
I'll tell you what, he'd get straight in that Palace team at the moment.
You can go now. Go now. You should have put a word in.
He shouldn't have rushed. He should have gone to Palace.
So James is going to go straight into Asmir's DMs and let him know.
For the benefit of those on YouTube, I'm just wishing I'd put the light on.
It started raining here in North
It's got really dark here.
Great. Thank you guys for listening in. Wherever you're listening to your podcast, whether it's iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, make sure you subscribe. And if you're on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell so that you get notified whenever we go live. Mig, Jack, thanks for joining us again. As always, it's a pleasure. And maybe, fingers crossed, one day it will be more in person, socially distanced. James, ciao for now.
Good luck tonight, gents. All the best. Cue music, please, man, child.